Good afternoon and morning, evening to some. Hi everyone, this is Mikayla here from the Urban Writers. I'm so happy for everybody to join us today. I see that there are already there is already some activity in our chats, in the comment section. So please do feel free to go ahead, chat a little bit in the comments. Tell us where you're from, if you have any orders or any projects that you're currently working on, any passion projects as well. We're always happy to hear about that. As usual, we are waiting like 4 or 5 minutes for people to join. So, in the meantime, we can have a little chat. Get your coffee ready. We are going over outlines today for both fiction and nonfiction, so that's very, very exciting. We have a bunch of templates on our blogs, which we will be sharing as well. You can also just go into our blogs on our website, just search for outlines, and you will be able to find the templates in those blogs. Um, in the meantime, where is everybody from? Is everybody having a cold winter or a very warm summer? I'm having a very, very cold winter at the moment. For the sake of not looking as if I, you know, don't, I'm homeless, I couldn't wear my comfortable the blanket jacket that I usually wear. So I had to put on my fancy jacket today. But it is absolutely freezing. We're having a cold front. And I see that there are a bunch of Canadians in the chat. Two Canadians. The 12 degrees that we've been having, so this is in Celsius, is not it's like summer days, most of you. Keep in mind that our houses, because I'm in South Africa, our houses are not built for winter. It is built for summer. There's no insulation. Everything is tiled. There's no heating system. Nothing. So I'm struggling a bit with the winter. I must say, as a winter child, I am struggling. Okay, let's see. We have some. Hi, Jill from South Carolina. We have Steph from Sydney. Um, Lost off the grid. I'm not sure what your name is, but you are from Long Beach, California. Oh my goodness, someone from Finland. I don't think we've had somebody from Finland yet, so welcome. Um, and in Colorado, Cara's from Colorado. Cape Town is freezing at the moment. I'm kind of more Midland, so I'm not in that part. It's literally like the opposite side of the country. But they're having snow. Some of my colleagues that actually work at the Urban Writers as well, they've been having massive, like I won't say snowstorms, but massive snowfall. They've been building snowmen and making snow angels. I am very envious because, again, in South Africa, you don't get a lot of snow, especially not in the area that I'm in. It's a very hot area, but I'm very, very envious. Although, growing up in the area that I am, I don't have the warm clothing that is required for snow. So, kind of envious, kind of also not. Um, we have someone from Vermont, from Frisco, Texas, Tina from LA. That's amazing. Okay. So we have people from all over the world. If you have any projects going at the moment, please put that in the comments as well. We're interested to see in what kind of topics and what kind of books you guys are interested in at the moment. That will also give us a scope, some ideas of webinars to do in the future as well. So if you have those suggestions too for future webinars, put that in the comment section as well. We're always happy to check that out. Okay, well, I think we can get going. Um, I think everybody that wanted to join has joined. We're all good to go. So, again, hi everyone. I am Mikayla. I am the senior sales agent here at the Urban Writers. If you have spoken to us, you've most probably spoken to me in emails, live chats. I've do demo calls, that sort of thing. So I'm a little bit all over the place. Um, but yeah, today we are going over outlines and how to construct the best outlines to set your project up for success. Now, a little bit more about me. I've been at the Urban Writers for 5 years now. I've written over 270 books, nonfiction and fiction, specializing in fiction and in children's books specifically. Yeah, I've been at the Urban Writers for a very, very long time. I've been a ghostwriter for 7 years before that as well. So this is webinars and specifically things that basically involve writing your book is most up my alley. Okay, so next up, I'm just going to take you quickly through the Urban Writers and who we are. So the Urban Writers was founded in 2018 by Natasha and Marco Matinho. We started with a handful of writers. We only started with fiction. We actually outsourced editors as well. We had an external editing company that worked, assisted us. And since then, we've grown to have over 5,000 creative minds on the platform. We've written over 1 billion words and have over 20,000 active customers on the platform. Now, we are evolving into Dibbly, which is basically a father company. You may have heard of Dibbly Create. I will go into that a little bit in the webinar further on. But we basically have a content creation tool. It's absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, we have the Urban Writer side where you can have freelancers write your content for you, or just create book covers, illustrations, that sort of thing. So there are two parts of the business. So if you see Dibbly and Urban Writers branding, it is because it is one and the same company. Alrighty, now on to our agenda. So we're going to go over the importance of outlines. We're going to go over the different kinds of outlines, components that make up a successful outline, as well as outlining techniques and strategies. Now, I won't go into this too much. There's a lot to cover because there are many, many different techniques, many different kinds of outlines. So we're going to do an overarching, we're just going to basically go over the basics of the outlining. If you guys want to see something more in depth, maybe something like a workshop or something like that, please do let us know as well. We are more than happy to do one for fiction and non-fiction, as they are very, very different. We do need to basically split them up so we don't have 4-hour-long webinars. Okay, and as usual, at the very end, we are going to have a Q&A section. So if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. We might not get to all of them, but if we don't get to your comments, we will respond to you either via DM, or we'll comment on or reply to your comment. And you're, of course, always welcome to reach out to us via email at sales@dibbly.com. Contact information will be on at the very end as well. Alrighty, well, now it is time to sit back. Again, grab your coffee, grab your snacks. Let's get into it. First of all, the importance of outlines. Now, with outlines, the first thing is structure. Okay, so outlines provide a roadmap for the story. It's basically the skeleton, and everything else that you add to it is the flesh and the bone. Oh, sorry, the flesh and the muscle and the skin to create one creature or one character. You don't know, however you want to see it. So you build everything off of your outline. It also helps with clarity. So it helps the writer maintain focus. So they don't write a little bit here, write a little bit there. It focuses on the main idea and ensures that the narrative flows logically. Whether this is fiction or nonfiction, it is very, very important to have a clear idea of what you want the writer, whether you are the writer or you're getting a ghostwriter. It's very important to have a clear idea set so that everything else can come after, but the skeleton of the story is there. Next up is consistency. This helps maintain consistency across characters, world building, setting, plot development, tone and style of your book as well. It helps with nonfiction books, your chapter flow as well, and having that consistent voice and narrative when you are talking about anything, whether it's chair yoga or it's planting daisies in your backyard. Um, it's very, very important to keep consistency. And then finally, revision. So the outlines do make it easier to identify areas that need improvement, or reworking during the editing process. And this, of course, leads to a stronger final product. Okay, next up we have different kinds of editing. Now, we have about 7 here. These aren't all of the different kinds of outlines of editing. These aren't all of the different kinds, but these are the most popular, that most famous authors use, and that freelancers use as well. So first off, we have the chronological outline, which basically organizes your story in order of events, following a timeline from beginning to end. So chapter 1 will be year 1, chapter 24 will be year 24, however you want to work it, but it is in chronological order. Then you have your chapter by chapter outline. This divides the story up into chapters and outlines those chapters specifically. This is the most popular one. This is the one that I use in my own writing as well. I basically come up with my entire story kind of in a chronological order, and then I go in and break it up into chapters and outline those chapters. So this is again the most popular way to do it. This is my favorite way to do it as well. Then you do have your character outline, which focuses on character arcs, character development, motivations, either relationships with other characters, and it just gives you a deeper understanding of the characters and their stories. Now, if you're doing something very, very in depth, like a massive fantasy book, this is very, very good to do as well. When I'm writing a fantasy book, I do a bit of a mix and match. And with the character outlines, I do create all of my characters, their body shape, their personality traits, their relationships with other characters. There are some amazing tools that you can use as well, that basically connects everybody and create those characters. So, and with this, it can also be things like beasts and um, creatures from mythology, that sort of thing. Everything that you want to include in your book, this is where you'd add that and add details of it as well. Then we have the mind map outline, and this uses a visual representation to connect ideas, characters, and plot points. I'm not too keen on this because it is a little bit chaotic, but if you don't have a set idea in your head, this is great for brainstorming, because you know, okay, this is your main character. This character needs to be connected to this person. This needs to be connected to that one, etc., and so forth. Okay. So it is good to brainstorm. Mind mapping is very good to brainstorm. But some people do already have most of what they want to write, or an idea of what they want to write in their heads, where the other outlining techniques are more useful than mind mapping. Then the snowflake method, it starts with a simple idea and then expanding upon that. Again, I use a combination of this. I use the snowflake method quite a bit too, where I basically know, okay, I know I want my main character to be from Denver, let's say. And from there, I know, okay, that's the main idea that I have. From there, I can branch out into more ideas involving this character, but I know that this character is going to be the center of attention. This can be used for nonfiction as well, of course, where you know, okay, you want your book to be about daisies. And from there, you can say, okay, I want to know how to grow daisies. I want to know how to take care of them. I want to know when they grow, that sort of thing. All of that can be incorporated into the snowflake method. Then we have the thematical outline. So that's it basically structures your entire idea on themes and motives. Okay. It organizes the plot around recurring ideas and concepts. This is very, very complicated, but it's good if you're doing a complicated story as well. So choosing the right outline is very important, and knowing the different outlines are very, very important because I've never, I maybe used thematical outlines once or twice with very complicated books, but it's not my favorite because I like a little bit more. I like to know exactly what happens at exactly the right time. And then we have the hierarchical outline. Oh, trying to say that 3 times very quickly. So this establishes a hierarchy of information with main plot points at the top level and subplots, character details, and scene descriptions underneath. So again, all of these can be used for nonfiction as well. You just have to adapt it a little bit. But for this, again, it kind of works as the snowflake method, and you kind of have your main plot point, and everything is built out underneath that main plot point. It's not chapter by chapter, it's not in chronological order or anything. This literally focuses on the main plot points and everything underneath. Which brings us to our next topic, which is choosing the most effective outline. So you want to consider your story structure. You want to consider whether it's nonfiction or fiction. For fiction, for example, chapter by chapter outlines are usually the easiest, and that's also one of the most common ones that you will see in nonfiction, because every chapter has a specific top subplot or subgenre. It's not really a subgenre, but like a subtopic that it handles. So again, using the example of growing daisies in their backyard, first chapter is going to be choosing the right soil. Next chapter is going to be choosing the right daisies. It's that sort of thing. So it's chapter by chapter outlines are very popular for any nonfiction book. Um, but yeah, basically consider your story and your genre. Um, so determine if your story follows a linear timeline. Are there kind of uh, um, oh, what's the word? Kind of memories that the character has of other times, backflashes kind of thing, flashbacks. Oh my goodness, flashbacks. And yeah, so if they have flashbacks in the story, the chronological outline won't work for you because that outline specifically works with point A to point Z, nothing in between of flashbacks or um, looking into the future, that sort of thing. You also need to know your writing style. So choose an outline that aligns with your writing style and organize your writing process, whether it's through detailed chapter breakdowns or just mind maps. If you're a very chaotic writer, chapter by chapter outlines aren't going to work for you. Um, but if you enjoy having a set idea and having a set route to take, then of course something like chapter by chapter outline is the best way to go. So do consider your writing style. There is a term for this, I believe there is the planner and the tank, I believe is the terminology. So the tank just goes in, writes everything, it doesn't need an outline or has minimal planning, where the planner, of course, is actually will actually plan all of their content. Next up, you want to understand your characters, and this is for fiction specifically. So, if the character development is central to your story, opt for an outline that allows you to delve deeper into the character's background, motivations, and arcs. So, if your story is more character focused instead of story driven, of course, you go for the other option. I can't remember what it was now. But we're actually focusing on the character building itself. Then assess your plot complexity and your nonfiction topic complexity as well. I know, like it does seem that we're focusing a lot on fiction, but outlines, nonfiction outlines are very straightforward, because there isn't any. You don't have to come up with anything. Everything is factual. Everything is research. So fiction is a little bit more important to outline, because there's characters, world building, character arcs, redemption. Um, there's the red herring where it looks like something's going to happen, but actually something else that's happening. You need to plan all of that out. You can't just write that. You need to be a fantastic writer in order to be able to do that. And I know a lot of writers and a lot of famous authors do write like that, but most people they can't write like that. And similarly for nonfiction, a lot of people can just write everything from the get-go. It is a lot simpler than nonfiction, so it is a little bit easier, but people still do need planning. So all of these points can be adapted for nonfiction as well. So yeah, assess your plot complexity. For intricate plots and twists and turns, red herrings, that sort of thing, um, you might want to look at a hierarchical outline, um, because it keeps track of multiple plot threads and resolving them cohesively. Again, it sounds very complicated. If you don't know what kind of outline to go for chapter by chapter. That is the best advice that I can give you. And then flexibility and adaptability. You want an outline that allows you to be flexible and to adapt the story or the content with afterwards. Okay, so you want easy revisions. You want to be able to have your story evolve throughout the writing process. Um, you don't want to just be stuck with that outline and basically have yourself written into a corner and there aren't any changes you've made because your outline is either too detailed or it's not detailed enough or the structure just isn't working for you. So all of these points are very important to keep in mind when you are choosing the best outline to follow. Again, if you don't know what to do a chapter by chapter outline. Our templates that we have on our blogs are chapter by chapter outlines because it is the easiest. It's also it is very simple and you can just jot something down with chapter one. I want to write about, oh gosh, ring lights, and I know chapter one is going through the equipment, chapter two is setting it up, that sort of thing. And you only have to add one sentence to that and then go back and flesh that out even more. But you can basically plan out your entire book in less than an hour and then go back and add more details. Of course, outlining can take hours and hours out of a day. It takes me a couple of days to do fantasy outlines. So again, do keep that in mind. You do need to add more detail than you might think you need to add. Okay, next, components of a successful outline. So I've broken this up into fiction and nonfiction. So let's start with nonfiction. So first off, you want your introduction. Every nonfiction book has an introduction. They have the main body of text, and then they have the conclusion. Those are the key elements in a nonfiction book. So your introduction wants to it should give you a bit of an overview of your topic, introduce the purpose of the book, and including what the reader can gain and learn from your book as well. Then you want your thesis statement, which is basically just a clear statement of the main argument of your book. So it's the central idea that you want to explore in your book as well. Then you have your chapter outlines, of course, that is the main body of your text. So the main body of your book. So this is going to break down everything chapter by chapter, outlining key points, arguments, examples, and case studies for that as well, and of course your research too. Which brings us to supporting evidence, which would be your research, your statistics, your anecdotes, expert opinions, quotes that you might want to add. That needs to be added as well. So it doesn't necessarily need to be in this order. So it doesn't need to be thesis statement, then chapter outlines, then supporting evidence. But the supporting evidence and the thesis statements kind of need to all be incorporated in your chapters. But those are the elements that, of course, are included in your outline, which means that the writer, whoever is writing your book, will have a clear idea of what they are writing, what the goal is at the very end of the book. And again, it just means that everything is going to be very cohesive. And then we have the conclusion at the very end. This is basically recapping the key points of your book, reiterating your thesis, as well as a call to action where you can kind of tell the reader, well, what are you waiting for? Go plant those daisies, that sort of thing. So you want a call of action in your conclusion as well. Of course, you don't have to add that in the outline, but when you are writing a conclusion, you most popularly a call to action should be added. Okay, next we have fiction. So again, you have your introduction. For fiction outlines, I like my introduction to be a bit of a summary of the book. I like to combine my introduction and my plot summary together, so I know exactly what's going to happen in my book. I say, okay, point 1 is this, point 10 is this, and then I know, okay, I need to figure out point 2 to 9 in the middle, but I know exactly how or what I want to happen in the book, how it needs to start and how it needs to end. So basically, the introduction is just a brief overview of the story concept. It introduces the main characters and themes, and then, of course, it also sets the tone of your story. Next, we have the plot summary, which outlines the major plot points, including the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. So if you're not sure about the middle, you'll be able to figure that out when you are doing your outline, and then you can go back and add that to your plot summary. If you don't want to add it, it's not a big deal as long as you have the beginning and the end. All of the other information that you have in the outline that covers, again, the body of the text, how they get from point A to point C, that's going to be in the rest of the outline. Next, we have your character profiles. You want to know who your characters are. You want to have something to refer back to. If a writer is writing about a character that has brown hair and then they can't really remember what color hair that the character has, they need something to go back to and see, okay, this character has brown hair. They are very grumpy. It's a very grumpy character. They love old vinyl records, and they also like whiskey on the rocks, that sort of thing. So you want that in your character profile because those are elements that you are going to incorporate in the rest of the book, little tidbits that you are going to add every here and there that's going to make your characters feel alive. And if you don't have the character profiles, it's very difficult to go back and find what you've already written. You have to go, if you've written 30,000 words already, and you'd have to go through those 30,000 words in order to find what you're looking for. Character profile is very easy to refer back to. Then you want your scene breakdown. I break down my scenes with chapters. So this basically details events, any conflicts that there is, and what interactions different characters have with each other. Then we have the conflict development. So any story needs conflict development. It needs conflict in general, but you can't leave it unresolved. And that is where this point comes in. There needs to be a certain point in your book where the conflict develops. So this will help you identify the central conflicts, any subplots that you might have, and obstacles characters need to overcome in order to get to the end of your book. And then you have your resolution. So plan for the end of your book. I like to plan the end of my book first, and then I plan everything else. I know that, okay, if I want to do a series, I know at the end of this book, I want this character to die, or I want this character to fall in love with this one, because I know in the next book I can continue that specific story. Now, the you need to plan how your story is, everything is going to come together. If you have this first, it is easy to work with work your way back from it. So when you know what your conclusion is, you know what you need to add in the rest of your book in order to get to that conclusion, if that makes sense. So yeah, and my advice would be to plan your conclusion before you plan out the rest of your book. It's just going to make it easier to have a very concrete conclusion where everything makes sense. There won't be any loose ends because everything ties back to the conclusion. Okie dokie. Next, we have tips for organizing headings and subheadings as well as structure. So first off, you want to brainstorm first. Start by jotting down all your ideas and concepts before structuring them into headings and subheadings. So if you have if you have this brilliant idea of you want this chapter to include all of these things, don't break it up into subheadings and headings from the get-go. Okay, go in, jot down what you have, the basic, break it down. Say, I want this to happen to this character, this to happen to this one, this should be the conclusion to it. And then from there, do bullet points, add sections to those specific, add bullet points to those specific sections. And from there, you can organize your headings and subheadings, that sort of thing, just so that you don't get confused. Because during that process, you might see, okay, this is too much for one chapter, let's move it on to the next. And then plan that thing out entirely and then break it up into whatever organization form you do want to use. You also want to identify your main themes. So determine the main themes and topics to your content that basically just cover the entire book. So make sure that you know exactly what you want to add, the tone of your book is going to be. Is it going to be very formal? Is it going to be a finance book where you have to be very formal, or is it going to be a very light-hearted self-help book? All of those things are very important to determine from the get-go. That's also going to help you determine which outline to use and how you are going to organize and structure your book. We then have hierarchy. So establish a clear hierarchy with basically main headings for major sections and then subheadings for minor sections. So if you're doing chapters, it's going to be the chapter name, so chapter 1, and then your subheadings for, again, growing daisies in your backyard. Subheading 1 is going to be kinds of daisies. Subheading 2 is going to be where different daisies grow. Subheading 3 is going to be choosing, the best daisies to actually grow in your climate. So that's going to mean that that section is split up, and you have your main topic for that section, but there are also smaller subplots or subtopics in that section as well, which again just helps you with organizing and helps you write. So you're not all over the place all at once. Okay, in this section I'm going to add this section I am going to add this. Then we want consistent formatting. So you want to ensure consistent formatting, font style, any alignment of headings, subheadings, throughout your entire document. If you don't have that, it is very easy to lose interest or to lose track of what you are doing. You need consistency throughout the entire document. Because if something is a different format, you might later on in a month's time, if you do return to that project that you've kind of shelved for a bit, you're going to wonder, why is this in a different format? Is there a reason I put it there? Was there something I had to think about for this? So just keep everything consistent formatting. So when you do go back and you do see, oh, okay, something is a different format, I definitely thought about something here. Let's go ahead and look at my notes, that sort of thing. Then descriptive labels. Use descriptive and concise headings that accurately convey the content for each section. So be as descriptive as you can. It's going to help you in the long run. Again, returning to a project after a while of having it on the shelf, this is going to help you a lot. You also want a logical flow. So arrange your headings in a logical order that guides readers through the content seamlessly. So again, you don't want to start from, let's say, Lord of the Rings, for example. You don't want to start with Frodo throwing the ring um, into the volcano. I can't remember the name now. I feel like such a failure of a nerd. But you can't start with that. You need to start at the very, very beginning. So if you start at that point, at the climax of the story, logically, the reader is not going to want to read the rest of the book, because that's already happened. Like they there isn't really anything to read about anymore. There's no mystery. So make sure that your outline does have a logical flow when you are writing it. So your chapter by chapter one needs to be the beginning, and the end of the conclusion needs to be the end of your story. Similarly, with nonfiction books, you want to start at a very beginner point and then escalate from there to at the very end, because of all of the knowledge that they've already taken in throughout the rest of the book. They are able to do more intricate and more in-depth things when they get to the last chapter. You don't want to add the in-depth things at the very beginning, because that's just going to completely overwhelm a reader. There's also parallel structure. So maintain a parallel structure for headings and subheadings to enhance readability and organization. Again, this is just a readability and an organization kind of thing. It's just going to help you with organization. We also have bullet points and numbering. I did mention bullet points. Breaking up your chapters with bullet points and kind of subplots is very, very, very effective. It's going to help you create the whole story, or make different points in each chapter and not repeat yourself after a while. So again, do keep that in mind. Don't be afraid of bullet points or numbering. Make lists. It is going to be your best friend. And then, of course, we have a visual hierarchy. So utilize different font sizes, headings, that sort of thing, colors, styles, font types. It's just going to help you differentiate different chapters from different chapters, or different tones that you want to use. Maybe one chapter is a little bit more serious than the next. Using different colors, something like that, is really going to help you differentiate that as well. Color coded, make it easy for yourself. Your best friend when outlining is going to be just having a clear and concise form of organization. And finally, we have review and refine. So regularly go in and review and refine your headings and subheadings to ensure that they are still effective. If by the 5th chapter you see that, okay, these headings aren't working for me anymore, go back and change it. Nothing is set in stone. As long as you've chosen the kind of outline that allows you to make those changes and to be fluid with how you organize things, you can still go in and change it. So if something isn't working for you, go in and change it. Again, nothing is set in stone. The book isn't written already. This is where you are going to make those changes. If you decide mid book that you want to change your topic, or you don't just want your book to be about growing daisies anymore, you want the book to be about growing cut flowers in general, this is where you are going to do it. You can't do that during the writing process of your book. Of course, you can, but it's going to take a lot of revision in order to adapt it accordingly. So the outline is where you want to do it. Next up, we have outlining techniques and strategies. So I'm just going to go through this very quickly. We are running a little bit late or a little bit over time, so I'm just going to go through this very quickly. Again, if you guys do want to have something in depth that we do, maybe a workshop, that sort of thing, please go ahead and let us know. We are more than happy to do that. And yeah, if you aren't sure what to do, go and download one of our templates. You can fill that in. Everything is chapter by chapter. It is a very good starting point. This is very in-depth detail for somebody just starting out. So if it does sound daunting, or if you don't understand certain things, it's fine. Start with the basics and then move forward from there. Okay, so outlining techniques and strategies. First off, we have mind mapping. So this is basically a visual technique that uses branches and nodes to connect ideas in a non-linear format. So this allows you to explore relationships between concepts and characters, topics, that sort of thing. So that would be, if you're not familiar with it, that would be the circle in the middle, and then points going to different circles and then more circles, and those points can branch out to different sections as well. So it can be as big as you want, but usually you have your main concept and then everything branching out from there. You also have brainstorming. This is the most free-flowing thing that you can do. So this just helps you come up with ideas without constraints. And this is also very useful for generating ideas that you can later organize into a proper outline. You sometimes, for me, for example, I'm a note maker, or a note taker. I always take notes. I always have a pen and pencil or a pen and paper with me, and I'm always just jotting something down. Sometimes I just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to take 20 minutes. I'm just going to think, and I think about my story, and I write down all of my ideas, and then I can incorporate that into my outline. Brainstorming is very important for that. You can also talk to people when doing brainstorming. Talk to people, tell them about your ideas, ask them advice, ask their advice, because they are going to be the reader. Basically, they're going to tell you, listen, this doesn't make sense, or no, and this part doesn't really sound interesting. Let's change it to this, that sort of thing. It is very important to do brainstorming and also look at it from a reader's point of view. We also do have storyboarding. So this gives you a visual representation of the concept of the story or your nonfiction book. If you're adding illustrations to it, this is a very good thing to incorporate when choosing a style, even a style of writing. If it's a very goofy kind of writing, it's going to be very colorful. It's going to be very sarcastic. But if it's formal, you're going to have paragraphs and everything's going to be organized very well. It's very good to do a storyboard. I don't do it often. I'm very lazy when it comes to outlining. So storyboarding is not something that I usually do. I have done it in the past and it was a lot of fun. But sometimes you just need to do a quick brainstorming session and work from that. Storyboarding does take a lot of time. You also can have a bullet point outline. So this is just simple, straightforward outlining method using bullet points to list the key ideas and points of your concept. And then you can transfer that into an outline later on. Index card method. So basically you're going to write the different parts of your book on index cards and then arrange and rearrange them to determine the most effective structure. This is very good if you're a very visual person. Instead of just typing everything out on the computer or writing out an outline via on pen and paper, this is very good to have the visual of where everything goes. It's going to be easy to move one thing to the next chapter or from one section to the next, or even from one book to the next if you're doing a series outline. I do this quite often as well, so I can confirm that this is very effective. Of course, there's also free writing. So this is just uninterrupted writing without any constraints. So if you're in the mood to just sit down and write, do it. You can always add that to your outline later on. Sometimes I get bored of an outline and I just want to get into the writing part of it. There are certain scenes that I have in my head. I'll go in, I'll write those scenes, and then I'll add that to the outline later on. I will see, okay, this is the kind of style they would need to be here at that point. So at this part of the world, I can put that in the middle of the book so that the first part of the book is journeying to that specific scene. You can also do your reverse outlining. So that's basically starting with a completed draft of your order. So that's a very, very draft of your book, a very rough draft, and then outline the main points and structure to ensure that everything is coherent and there's a logical flow to it. I don't necessarily recommend this quite often, but if you are very chaotic and you're a chaotic writer in general, this is a good way to do that. And then you also have your cubing techniques. So basically, what this entails is examining a topic from 6 different perspectives. So the perspectives are describe it, compare it, associate it, analyze it, apply it, and I believe the last one is argue for or argue against it. So those are the 6 perspectives that you do need to go through. And that's basically just to generate a varied insight for your outline. So again, this is very complicated. I personally I don't use this specific method, but also I don't write very complicated nonfiction books. I focus on self-help and exercise and wellness, that sort of thing. But if you are doing something very, very in-depth, something psychological, something about finance or technology, this is a very good thing to do. It's called the cubing technique. You can go and look it up at any point. So there are tutorials online on how to do that as well. So next up, just something very, very quick. If outlining is extremely daunting for you, that is perfectly fine. What I have gone ahead and done is I have created an outline using Dibbly Create, and I'm just quickly going to show you guys through that. So basically, this is the outline that I've generated. I just chose a very, very random topic that just popped in my head. I believe I saw TikTok, and I was interested in the witches of Salem at that point. So this is the outline that it generated. Now, the outlines can take a little bit of time to go in and generate. So I've generated one already. But for this, we can go ahead and we can say, okay, audience type. Let's say we want young adults. We can say we want nonfiction. We want 15 chapters. We want a maximum of 30,000 words. Let's make this 12 chapters then. Let's say example genre of book is self-help, and then the main let's say we've been going with this theme. Let's go gardening, growing daisies, okay, now this is going to generate. So it can take up to 10 minutes. So we're going to let this generate and then we can come back to that. So With this outline that I've created, you'll see that this is extremely in-depth. This is using Dibbly Create, the Dibbly Create outlining tool. It is completely AI based. I literally added as much information to the outline when generating this as I literally just did showing you guys. And this is everything that it has come up with. So this is absolutely fantastic to go over. You will see your target audience, you will see the why people are going to read this book, and then it gets to your chapter summaries, and it literally has the entire chapter summary, chapter by chapter, with maximum details. This is absolutely fantastic, and from this outline I created an entire 52,000 word book using the content writer on Dibbly Create as well. So everything is AI generated, but using the outline, I've created this entire book. I've read through this. I'm a massive snob when it comes to writing and writing styles, but this was absolutely fantastic. It sounded as if I actually wrote this because the content writer allows you to say, okay, I want this to sound very sarcastic, or I want it informal or friendly, that sort of thing. You can add all of those details. So from that outline that was generated, all of these chapters were generated as well, including the introduction and the conclusion as well. And from this, I've also created the book description, and I have created a research item here, which basically just takes me through all of the market research. So it'll tell me, okay, this specific book is popular. This is when it was published. This is the dollar amount it is sold at. And then it also tells you the strengths of the book, the weaknesses of the book, and what the competitive edge is as well. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so this is absolutely amazing when you're not 100% sure what to do. Go in, generate an outline or two, generate some content. It really is worth it. And then here we can now see that there's a little check mark and our outline has been completed. So from what we've entered, this is the entire outline that has been created. It also includes links, of course, for every single chapter that the writer can then use in order to write that chapter. Yeah, and that is it. I just wanted to show you guys Dibbly Create and what it can do. We are currently offering a 7-day free trial for Dibbly Create. So if you do have anything that you want to try out, do go ahead, do sign up for the free trial. If you're not happy with it, nothing lost. But if you do find that it is a tool that you want to use in the future, of course, you can go ahead and just subscribe. I believe it's $21 a month, which is very low for content creation and for AI specifically. So go ahead, check it out. The outline creations are absolutely fantastic. If for nothing else, just use it for outline creation. It really is amazing. And of course, if you do have any questions or concerns, go ahead, reach out to us at sales@dibbly.com. The email address is on the screen at the moment. We also do have a phone number right below the email address, so you can phone in as well. If you don't have a pen or paper to write anything down with at the moment, you can always visit our website, which is www.theurbanwriters.com. And you can find our contact details over there. You can also go to Dibbly, to our Dibbly website, which was just on the screen as well, and check it out there. So that is where you can actually find the subscription to Dibbly Create. So again, if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to reach out to us. We are more than happy to assist with anything that you might need. Okay, next up, we do have our next webinar announcement, which is going to be fiction. It is basically going to go over crafting a captivating historical fiction epic. So this is a very, very exciting topic. So if you are interested in that, the date and time will be still be announced, but it should be in 2 or 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So do keep an eye out for that. That is going to be the next topic. And if you do have any suggestions for future webinars, again, please do let us know. We are more than happy to take that into consideration when planning out our calendar for all of our future topics. Alrighty, we have maybe a time for a few questions. We have about 5 minutes, so let's go ahead and let's get those questions out. If we don't get to everything, we will get back to you via or we'll comment or we'll reply and we'll DM you, whichever works. And if you have questions and it's still not answered, if we may have missed you, please do reach out to us at any point. Okay. Now, how do I start creating an outline for my books? This basically you just get started. So to start creating an outline for your book in general, I misplaced you guys. There we go. So to just start creating your book, begin by brainstorming. You have to start with an idea in order to create an outline. Identify your key themes, characters, and plot points, your topics, your specific arguments that you have for your book or your nonfiction book, and then turn that into an outline. Just get started with the first chapter or get started with any chapter and flesh it out from there. Okay, next question. Let me pull that up. What should I include in a fiction outline? Okay, so the key components of a fiction outline include an introduction, setting the tone, plot is very, very important for a fiction book. And then, of course, your characters, character details, profiles, and segmented scenes, segmented scenes that break down specific, specific scenes as well. So make sure that you have all of those things included, and you'll be good to go. How should I structure my non-fiction outline? Okay, so structuring a nonfiction outline should always start with your introduction. So your introduction is always at the very beginning. Then your main topic, have your clear thesis statement. So that's basically your main argument. And then your chapter by chapter outline from there. So any supporting evidence and resources, and of course your conclusion at the very end that summarizes the entire book from there. In our templates, we do have this specific structure as well. I do apologize if you hear scratching in the background. My dog is going crazy to come and see me. He's locked in the room, so I do apologize. It's at least the end of the webinar at the moment. So, but yeah, make sure that you have your main thesis, your main topic in the body of your book, and then of course your introduction and conclusion, and all of this is included in the templates as well that you can just go in and you can just fill out. You don't have to fill out literally everything that is in the template. There is a lot of information that you can fill out, and you can add as much or as little information as you want. But if you are getting a ghostwriter to do your book for you, we recommend adding as much information as possible to it. Okay, one more. Nice webinar. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, do you have any quick tips on helping your creativity? Reading. That is my main tip that I can give to anyone is just read. Watch. If you don't like reading, watch movies, watch a series. This is for fiction specifically. You don't need to. You don't have to steal ideas, but certain things will definitely set a tone for your book. I like to listen to music, and I like to base some of my books on certain songs. If I want something very whimsical, I'll listen to some folk music. If I want something dark and gritty and romance, I'll listen to, oh goodness, now I can't think of a single artist. But I listen to specific artists that put me in a specific mood. And when I am writing and I am brainstorming, I have that on in the background as well. It's very good to, when you're stuck on something, don't be afraid to look somewhere else to find a way out of it. Um, Listen to music that's in the genre that you're writing. Watch movies, watch documentaries. If you're doing a nonfiction book, watch documentaries, read other nonfiction books, look at, think of things that you'd like, that you'd like to see in a book, and add that. That's the best advice that I can give you. Just look somewhere else and you will find the answers to it. And if you're still stuck, maybe try something different. If you're stuck on a plot, try a different plot. If you're doing a fantasy book, maybe try something else. Go and write a romance, um, a romance outline, and then come back to the fiction one later on. Sometimes good to juggle different projects. Alrighty. Oh, I see. Portia actually asked where the templates are. So when you do go to www.theurbanwriters.com, you can, at the very top, there will be an option that says blogs. Click on blogs. In the search bar, search for outlines. And then there's going to be a specific blog that has a little ghost on it. It's from November, I believe. So do go ahead, click on that, and when you scroll down, the templates will be available there. Again, if you can't find it, just reach out to us. We will share it with you, no problem. Alrighty, that is everything from me. We don't have time for anything else. I do hope you guys enjoyed it, and enjoyed as much as I enjoyed presenting. And yeah, if you do have any questions, please reach out to us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.